The professor was taken aback by the student's surprising response to a challenging project. "Greetings, pals! I'm going to tell you a very little tale about a young man from many years ago today. I don't want to overstate the fact that the narrative, despite its lack of supernatural elements, has had a profound impact on the lives of millions of people worldwide. I believe that each and every one of you should hear about it, since it is known by every successful person who is self-respecting. Welcome to USA Stories channel. Do not forget to subscribe and activate the bell button to receive all new updates. Now let's go to the story. It all started in Portland, Oregon in the far-off year 1914, when a baby called George was born into a family of Jewish immigrants. His mother worked as a linguist in the library, while his father taught arithmetic. I will not talk about George's early years, because there was nothing remarkable about them. He didn't stand out from his friends growing up. He was just like any other youngster in those days. Studying geometry was the one subject his father actually made him do. I doubt it would be honest to say the youngster was overjoyed by this, but he did what his father asked. He began by helping his dad with basic puzzles, but by the time he was ready to graduate from high school, he was helping him with quite challenging ones. Whatever the case, he was definitely not a genius. Because of his comparatively strong background in mathematical science, he was eventually admitted to the University of Maryland's Faculty of Mathematics. But like the hundreds or thousands of other students just like him, he was an ordinary student. Furthermore, George would frequently permit himself to miss class, which led to his receiving more assignments as punishment. We've now come to the main point, which has the power to alter your perspective on the world. Thus, consider the following situation. A 25-year-old student called George is shown sprinting along a lengthy corridor of the University of California, Berkeley in 1939. Like many other occasions, he arrived late to Professor Jerzy Neyman's statistics lesson for whatever reason. Moreover, he arrived more than 2 hours late. He hardly had time to catch his breath before making his way inside the auditorium, but he did so stealthily and went in. The young man took a seat at a desk in an attempt to go undetected. Soon after, he began scanning his surroundings to see what he had missed. But it was not the right moment to make a big deal out of himself when he saw the expression on his professor's face. 2 arithmetic problems were written on the chalkboard by the time he arrived in the auditorium. The negligent student just copied the issues into his notebook and began listening to the lecturer while he was preoccupied with his own thoughts, since George assumed it was the next homework assignment for the following class. However, friends, he quickly regretted being late to that lesson when he got home from it. The young guy believed that he probably missed something crucial at the start of the lesson that would have enabled him to tackle the really difficult issues. But he was at a loss for what to do, and he struggled mightily for a few days to figure out the difficulties and finish the project before the following statistics session. Before I go too far ahead of myself, let me just say that everything ended up being both much simpler and much more difficult. A few days later, the delighted student visited the professor to turn in his homework and notebook. The instructor snatched up the notepad without looking up from the blackboard, where he was sketching graphs for the upcoming lesson. "All right, thank you," he said. Naturally, he did not instantly recall that he had placed the notebook on top of his desk and would check it later, rather than giving his pupils any kind of assignment. After 2 weeks had gone by, George had still not received a response from the professor. Furthermore, the instructor approached George in the subsequent session and informed him that his assignment was still being reviewed. The young guy became even more anxious since he knew that a drawn-out process like this may go wrong and that the midterm scores will soon be released. What followed, though, is difficult to comprehend. George was eventually invited into the dean's office. He felt uneasy about this, and when he opened the door, he saw the statistics professor and many other unknown guys were waiting in the office with the dean. It's difficult to say what the student was thinking at the moment. Perhaps he was bracing himself for the worst, but he was taken aback by his professor's words. "George, congratulations! Did you think of it? Did you get assistance from someone, or did you handle it alone? What are you talking about?" The young guy questioned his professor, perplexed by what was happening. Subsequently, Jerzy Neyman showed him his homework journal. As it happens, he got everything right. It was just not a homework assignment. The professor was astounded by what he saw when he eventually had a chance to examine the notebook the student had brought. He recalled that he had really shown his pupils the circumstances of those two problems at the start of one of his lectures. Nevertheless, those two requirements were for two unresolved issues. At the time, the challenges remained a mystery, beyond the comprehension of not just the professor, but also the world's greatest brains. Even the most distinguished scientists labored for decades while the best mathematicians attempted to solve them. But George just didn't realize that there was no way to solve them. He missed the section of the presentation when the lecturer mentioned that no one in the world could answer them due to a foolish series of circumstances. That's how George managed to solve them in only a few days, despite his struggles. The student was congratulated by Mathematical Academy of Sciences professors who visited the dean's office. George Bernard Dantzig, our hero, is a well-known scientist of the 20th century who created the algorithm for using the simplex approach to solve problems. In addition, he is credited with creating linear programming, and in 1974, he was the first person to win the von Neumann Theory Prize. Later on, the University of Maryland awarded our student an honorary doctorate and the National Medal of Science. He joined the American Academy of Arts and Sciences, the National Academy of Engineering, and the National Academy of Sciences in the 1970s. He wrote several books and papers. If he had arrived at class on time, none of this would have probably occurred, and his name would not have become as well known. At least, that is what Professor George Dantzig used to grinfully remark. There are moments when you have the ability to accomplish seemingly unattainable goals that no one else has been able to accomplish. Only if you don't persuade yourself that it's impossible is all of this feasible. When asked how he accomplished all of that, George Dantzig said that he would have never been able to answer those issues if he had been to the lecture on time and been informed that they could not be solved. The most courageous and prosperous individuals in history, billionaires, trailblazers, and inventors, may learn a lesson from this tale. They're all persuaded that our perceptions of our actions and our thoughts themselves are the source of all our issues. What say you, friends? Is that accurate? Is the entire issue just that we don't think this is possible? Please share your ideas and opinions in the comments section. All of that for now. Please leave a rating for the video, and we hope to see you soon. Please remember to subscribe to our channel, give us a thumbs up, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any of our videos. If you enjoyed the tale, the next video that plays on your screen will probably move you too.